Like, well, I don't see the haters now. Like, I don't know. Did Vikings fans ever hate Kirk Cousins, or did they think, oh, this probably won't work out because we're the Vikings? And then it didn't for the first whole year and
I
4
think it's
weeks.
that. Yeah. I think it's exactly that. I think it was a question of, and you know what? Among the fans in this town, and this might be because the Vikings are so widely followed, Matthew, I will often say that they are the most rational, because you do get a lot of, well, Cousins isn't good, but it's not, I hate Kirk Cousins. It's, and you know what? Through 4 games, there were question marks. I think the starting point, though, of what we've seen these past 3 games, and you're right, yesterday, that offense looked fan-bleeping-tastic. I think the starting point is not Kirk. I think the starting point is a conversation that you and I have been having probably since the day Kubiak walked in that door, which is the last 3 games have been the expectation of what we all thought was coming, which is this system's great for Kirk.
Perfect for him.
The analysis of 2018 to me was this: we signed a quarterback for a lot, and he should be a star. And if you put that on Kirk's back, guess what? Ain't going to work. We saw it. It didn't work. This is not to say that Kirk Cousins is a bad person. Don't know him as a guy. It is to say that if he is loaded up with expectations, it weighs him down. And I thought, going back to week 4 in Chicago, we saw a quarterback who looked mentally weighted down. We saw a receiver who was PO'd, probably rightfully so. The last 3 games, we have seen a sea change. And I don't think it starts with Kirk. I think it starts with the boys who sit down on Tuesday and say, let's game plan. And that probably involves Kirk, but it also involves Kubiak and Stefanski. Listen, the MVP of these past 3 weeks might be Stefanski, who, by the way, what did we see? Why was Case Keenum so damn good? Yes, because he played well. I get that. But his play caller, Pat Shurmur, how many times did I look at you during the course of that year or vice versa in that press box and say, whoa, that play call was unbelievable. So I think we're putting too much of this now on, man, Kirk's done this. Hey, it's impressive. Great for Kirk. Happy for him personally. That's just awesome. But I think this really starts with, and I don't know if it was quickly triggered by Diggs saying, see you guys later, I can't take this or what, but starting with that Giants game and now going Giants, Eagles, Detroit, we have seen an offense that was what our expectation was, which is you guys are going to install something that is Kirk friendly, but it's also going to help Dalvin. It's going to help the tight ends eventually, right? It's going to help the receivers. This all makes sense now. And this is the best trio of game plans, play calling that we have seen since Pat Shurmur walked out that door to go to the Giants after the 2017 season.
I definitely had the Pat Shurmur moment with the play on 2nd and 5, the play action and throw to Stephon Diggs, where it's like, okay, this man is in complete control at this moment. He's feeling it. This is a heat check. Like, am I going to stay on fire? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Right? Watch me dial up this bomb to Stephon Diggs. And by the way, throwing it deep to Stephon Diggs. Imagine.
Yeah, it works.
Imagine that.
And guess what? Kirk can make those throws. Kirk's deep passes are really good. Like, it's a talent there. He's got it. They are now doing things for Kirk that you say, bingo, that makes sense.
Right.
Just like they did for Case. Pat did. How many times did Shurmur call plays for Case? And as much as Zim might have sat there and been like, that was dangerous, don't know about that, we all thought, hell of a call.
Yep.
Yeah. It takes some balls. You got to have some balls, right?
You have to.
He did. And in this case, Stefanski and Kubiak are doing the exact same thing, which really, to me, largely flies in the face of those first 4 games.
Right. Yeah. And getting Kirk to throw it down the field, though, has taken having to design plays that would allow him the right read in the right circumstance where Cousins, and I thought he said something very interesting after the game. He said, well, when the calls are coming in, I'm agreeing with them. Like, this is very typical of Kirk Cousins when he's not feeling it and he doesn't feel like you've dialed him up the right thing, or when he doesn't see the read that he needs to see. It's not like he could pull the ball down like a Deshaun Watson, or even we saw Carson Wentz do that on a number of occasions. Not a good game for him last night, but Wentz is another guy where the call might not be there, but he can pull it down, he can make a play, and so forth. And that's just not something that we see from Cousins very often. The throws on the run, which he's very good at, are designed for him to run exactly to that spot. And he can do it with anybody. I mean, this is why I've thought of him as being so much like Jared Goff, where when Sean McVay was dialing him up exact spots to be, he could go to those spots and make the throws that he's asked to throw. But Cousins is smarter than Jared Goff, I think, as a dude. So he gets a little jumbled, I think, in questioning what he's told to do. He'll be like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. Is that the right call? I guess we'll see how it works out. Oh, there's double coverage there. I don't know if I want to take that risk. And in this case, they've done such a great job against very poor defenses of getting guys one-on-one and getting guys open. And now if you try to guard Stephon Diggs with two guys, Zimmer mentioned this after the game yesterday, well, now Irv Smith is here, and that is a game changer. Irv Smith is ripping off big plays now.
So is BC.
And BC Johnson is a game changer. This guy is good.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote it a couple of weeks about how he came in and became a sponge basically to Stephon Diggs and learned really quickly. And he's a very, very bright guy, which always seems to correlate to success at that position. If you're real smart, you're going to do well. And that's BC Johnson. So now all of a sudden we go from last year, Aldrick Robinson trying to come in and figure it out after like week 3. Well, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he catches a couple balls. Laquan Treadwell, one of the worst NFL players I think I've ever covered, who like was, I don't know, paid or just got time out there and wasn't just a replacement guy who was signed off the street, but a first-round pick who cannot play. And they put him in there to block at this point. You can always tell. I don't know if teams have picked up on this. Like you can always tell, oh, Treadwell's in there. They are blocking.
Yep.
They are running the football.
Yep.
So they go from playing him like 45, 50% of the snaps to now having no number 2 tight end at all last year behind Kyle Rudolph, to now having these extra weapons, to now having Dalvin Cook healthy. And it's all coming together for Kevin Stefanski to have this palette of things to use. If there were one area, and maybe there's a few, to sympathize with John DeFilippo, it was, well, we're not running the football well enough. Okay, well, your offensive line was really bad on the interior. So good luck running the football with your offensive line being really bad on the interior. And also, you have no other weapons outside of Diggs and Thielen, so teams can focus on those guys.
There was also, I thought, with John, an expectation that we just signed a quarterback and he's being paid a lot, so go do it.
Right.
Where now there's no. The Kubiak system works. This is like after the Chicago game, the light finally clicked, right? Like you finally said, okay, this starts to work, and they did different things. But again, how comfortable does Kirk look now? How comfortable there? Kirk has never,
since he's been here.
Yeah,
sure.
Kirk has never had a span of games since joining this team last year where you said he's at ease completely. And that last game against the Bears, he looked like a guy who was miserable, looked like a guy who couldn't stand his job. But these last 3 games now, it's all clicked. It's all, if there can be such a term, Kirk friendly. And because of that, he is able to execute an offense that looks like it's designed for him, as opposed to saying, Kirk, here's my design, go try and do this.
Okay, I want to give you some Kirk Cousins criticisms, and I want you to tell me still fair, wasn't fair, or we'll see.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
So criticism number 1, can't beat good teams, can't beat good defenses.
We'll see.
Criticism number 2, doesn't have control of the team, like isn't really the leader of the offense.
Actually, in some ways, I think that's very fair. Doesn't need to be, as long as he's comfortable being him.
Overpaid, overrated, all those things, stealing the Vikings' money. I don't think that was ever true, but
that's probably not true, because that probably goes too far.
Now, let me offshoot of that is wasn't worth the amount of money.
Ooh. Can I wait to see the end of the story? Because now
that's the we'll see. I mean, that's
right now
the
I'd
point
say
of the exercise.
Yeah, right now it's a definite we'll see. It's 3 really good games, but Matthew, it's 3 games.
That's the thing.
I can't jump in the pool right now.
This is the
I'm
reason
impressed
that I wanted to do this, because I thought, when I saw Dick Vitale of all people, saying,
what is Dick Vitale? Why is he
jumping
getting involved?
on the haters? Well, I have no clue, but
he's in Tampa.
It's funny because it just seems to be this never-ending battle, and we really, I can't sit here and say, well, we'll check in 2020 at the end of that season and decide whether it worked out. But ultimately, that is kind of how it's going to go. Is the criticisms that I think have always been fair when they've been brought up. When you lose to Chicago and score 6 points, you have receivers running open all over the field, and you check down to CJ Ham, then you deserve to be criticized when you consistently cannot put together a good performance against a good defense. And when you consistently struggle on the national stage, which I don't expect he will on Thursday. But when that...
He would have to work on Thursday to do that.
Yes, he would. But when that happens, and then you get a couple of good games where it's been against really, really bad defenses, well, I don't think that debunks those criticisms. I think that those criticisms are still sort of jury is out with him in Minnesota. His history so far as a starting quarterback, all those things have very large sample sizes of happening. But he wouldn't be the first and only guy to have sample sizes of those things happening and then find the right offense and have that change.
Can I run something past you? Okay, so here's my theory too. This is a really good team. All right? Like we know that, right?
Yep.
Personnel-wise, this team's got this is not a fluky, they turned out to stink. Okay. Here's my 2 cents here. And I don't know if it changed things ultimately as much as I probably think it might have. But after week 4, listen, Kirk is a gifted athlete, okay? Mentally, he's a sort of an odd guy. He's also not the type of guy, I think, who goes in a locker room and says, I'm Kirk Cousins and you're following me. I think guys are like, no. But that doesn't mean he's not good. I think it's monumental. And at the time, I probably thought, wow, that's not smart. But I think it's monumental now in retrospect that Stefon Diggs, incredibly smart dude, and a guy who probably does lead in some ways. Stefon Diggs strikes me as being completely comfortable with whom he is, okay? Kirk's not, but Stefon is. And I think after week 4, when Stefon said, this is BS, and he didn't say, I hate my quarterback. Like if he had gone in and said, Cousins sucks, then it's a free-for-all.
Yeah.
But he went in and said, what you're doing is flawed. And he probably went in, because he's pretty smart, and said, here's what you're doing wrong. Because it's not a coincidence that then the next game, and it's not that Diggs starred against the Giants, it's that they threw the ball. And that sort of started the ball rolling to where we ended up against Detroit yesterday. My point being is, I think this is also about people of importance emerging. And I think Stefon Diggs being a smart guy, being a guy with a voice, being a guy who is not scared, basically said, your system is really good, but it's so flawed.